Right before death, something strange happens in hospital rooms around the world. People who haven't spoken in days suddenly sit up and greet someone no one else can see. Eyes widen, hands lift, a smile, peaceful, relieved, spreads across their face. And then they whisper things like, "There you are. I knew you'd come. Thank you for waiting." Doctors can't explain it. Skeptics can't ignore it, and families never forget it. These aren't nightmares. They're not confusion. They're not hallucinations caused by medication. They're visitors. Tonight, we step into the final hours when the unseen beings arrive, guides, loved ones, angels, quietly waiting to escort someone home. I am Candy, and this is Half Haunted Chronicles. Hospice workers know the signs. A patient who has been unconscious begins looking at the ceiling corners. Someone too weak to move suddenly reaches for empty air. A dying person turns their head and speaks soft greetings to a part of the room no one else is watching. Nurses chart the basics, vitals, breathing, blood pressure, but when they whisper the truth privately, he's seeing visitors. This is one of the most documented phenomenon in end-of-life care. Dr. John Lerma recorded hundreds of cases. Dr. Melvin Morris recorded more. Other hospice researchers continued the pattern across cultures. It doesn't matter the religion. It doesn't matter the age. It doesn't matter if the person believed in the afterlife. The visitors come anyway, and the stories are impossible to shake. Here are a few stories when the dying see who's waiting. A child who saw the man with the hat. A 6-year-old girl dying of leukemia told her mother, "The man with the hat is back." Her mother panicked at first, but the girl wasn't afraid. She described him as a tall man in an old-fashioned suit with a wide-brimmed black hat. He never spoke. He just stood in the doorway, smiling softly, as if waiting. Hospice staff heard her mention him repeatedly during the final days of her decline. Then, on her last night, she suddenly sat up in bed, looked toward the doorway, and whispered, "I'm ready." She lay back down and died seconds later. When researchers compared notes with other families, they found multiple dying children had described the exact same figure, same clothing, same posture, same gentle presence. No fear, only calm. The veteran and the young soldier. A Vietnam veteran dying in a hospice bed began talking to someone at night. The nurses heard him whisper things like, "You made it. I'm glad you're here. Walk with me." During a lucid moment, a nurse asked who he was speaking to. He said, "The young soldier, the one who didn't make it home." This was someone he had carried guilt for his entire life, a teenager who died next to him in battle. But now, his final days, the soldier had come back, not angry, not accusing, just present. The veteran died the next morning with a peaceful expression none of his families had ever seen before. Quite interesting. The mother who saw her baby again, a woman who had lost her child decades earlier, began reaching out to the empty air. When asked who she was calling to, she said, "My baby. She's grown. She's beautiful." Her daughter, now an adult, burst into tears. Her mother had never spoken about the child she lost, never processed the grief, never allowed herself to remember. But in her final days, she saw the child not as a baby, but as a grown woman, smiling, radiant, waiting with open arms. The mother passed quietly that night with her hand lifted as if someone was grasping it. The man who saw his dog. Not all visitors are human. One man, dying after a long illness, suddenly brightened, his eyes wide, and his breathing eased, and he laughed softly, a sound his family hadn't heard in months. "It's Max," he whispered. "He's waiting by the door." Max was his childhood dog, gone for 50 years, but the man described him in detail. The floppy ear, the missing patch of fur on his tail, the way he used to scratch at the floor before lying down. The dog wagged his tail, then walked towards something the man could see, and no one else could. Minutes later, he passed with a peaceful sigh. Oh, that's a good story. Here are 3 creepy facts to haunt your day. Children describe repeating visitors. They see the same figures for days or weeks before dying, and their descriptions are eerily consistent. People frequently see long dead relatives they never met, including ancestors whose names they didn't know. Animals appear as visitors too. Cats, dogs, horses, even animals a person owned decades earlier. Out of every episode so far, this one changed me the most. There's something powerful about how universal these visitor stories are. People nearing death don't see monsters or strangers. They don't feel hunted or terrified. They see comfort, they see love, they see faces they haven't seen in decades, and beings they've never met that somehow feel familiar. And the strangest part? The timing. The visitors don't show up months before death. They don't appear randomly. They come when the person's body begins to let go, when the mind is too tired to fight, when the heart is ready for its last beat. They arrive. They arrive right on schedule. I don't know what these visitors are, but whatever they are, they make the ending softer. And maybe that's the point. Tonight, we've entered the quiet space where the dying welcome the ones who come to guide them home. But our journey into the final days isn't done. Next, we dive into the phenomenon of terminal lucidity, when people who have been nonverbal, unresponsive, or in deep dementia suddenly wake up with perfect clarity to deliver one last message. Until next time, stay curious and always, always stay haunted.